Let's Talk Advice with your host, Jonah Keen. Welcome to the Jonah Keen Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jonah Keen Podcast. It is episode 5 here. And, I don't have any guests for this episode, but we do have things to address and attend to. We will be accepting callers later in the episode or people who want to send voice messages in. We will be doing that later in the episode when later in the episode. But first, I would like to discuss the intro. Everyone knows my famous intro, Let's Talk Advice. And that's started every single podcast since the beginning, which is a lot of episodes. And it's a very famous intro, and it's one of my favorite things to say, let's talk advice. However, I am looking for maybe a longer and more better intro. And so I contacted some musician friends of mine. Yes, I do have contacts in the music scene, and we created 3 demos for future intros to the podcast. And so I'm going to play all 3 of them for you guys, and you're going to leave a comment in the comment section down below and tell me which one you'd like to have as the new intro to the Jonah Keen Podcast. And I'll introduce each and every one, starting with the first one, AVD. And AVD, of course, is the first 3 letters of advice, the word advice. And so I kind of turned that into my own original song. So let's watch and listen to it. AVD, ICE, Jonah Keen, Advice with Jonah Keen Podcast. Let's go. AVD, ICE, Jonah Keen, Mr. Advice, Jonah Keen, baby, you and me, girl. Wow. What did you think of that, guys? I think it was very musical, very colorful, and an absolute jam that gets stuck in your head and you'll never be able to get it out. I think it's a perfect intro, but also I think all the intros I've made are 10 out of 10s, perfect intros. The next one is called Imagine No Advice, and it's kind of a sad song. And I thought making 3 intros, they need to be diverse, they need to be different. And so this one's kind of a little more depressing and a little more thoughtful and artsy, I would say. It might not be for everyone, but I think the fans who really do like this intro will like it more than any other person on any other intro. They'll just be very passionate about it. So here is Imagine No Advice. Imagine there's no advice. The advice has all gone away. Imagine no Jonah. Without him, I'm afraid. But now you have my podcast. Advice for every day. Welcome to the Jonah Keen Podcast. Wow, that was a fantastic intro, if I say so myself. The final intro I was thinking of is more to appeal to the stoners in my audience. I know there's a lot of different, diverse group of people in my audience. You have advice freaks, you have single moms, married moms, and dads and single dads. But you also have stoners, and I think this intro will really appeal to that group of people. So if you're a stoner head, you'll probably really appreciate this next one. I call this one Mr. Advice, and I hope you guys enjoy. Hit it. Mr. Advice. Advice for your life. Mr. Advice. Jonah Keen is right. Mr. Advice. Advice for your life. Now, what did you think of that? I thought it was quite fantastic. So those were the three intros. You have ADV, Imagine No Advice, and Mr. Advice. Three separate intros, all fantastic and well produced. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, letting me know what intro you want to have for the show. And so that's pretty much what we're going to do for the beginning of the show. Now we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and then we'll answer some questions by some callers. Sound good? I sure hope it does. But let's cut to the sponsor. Today's sponsor is this bottle of gin I found in the alleyway over by the dumpster where I take out my trash. This bottle of gin is a premium product that is sponsoring the show. They won't let me in Dave & Buster's anymore, so this is where I get my fix. This is where I get my courage. Thank you, this bottle of gin, for sponsoring this episode of the show and my life. Now, let's go give some advice to some callers. Okay, we're back, folks. And we are on the line answering some questions. Sorry, the gin is getting to me. Thank you once again. This bottle of gin I found for sponsoring today's episode of the podcast. All right, we're here. We're here to answer some callers' questions. I asked my social media, I asked my email, I asked my subscribers, have any questions for me? And this is what I got in response. I have a ton of questions. I'm going to pick a handful of them and answer them on the show live and in stereo for you guys. So first question being sent in is from Keith B. And let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Jonah. I just got one quick question for you, man. First of all, I'm a huge fan of the show. Okay. I was just wondering, who's your favorite guest to work with? Also, if I could get on the show too, man, I mean, that would be great. My contact information, I've sent it to you multiple times. I hope to see you soon. Just stop returning my mail, please.
Keith,
please.
If I understand this correctly, you have asked two questions, and I will let it slide just this once. The first question is, who is your favorite guest to work with? And I really enjoyed hanging out with Michael Hamilton, and he's a fine young gentleman, actually older gentleman, and he really just understood me. And the second question is, why haven't I responded to any of your letters or emails? I actually haven't gotten any of your letters or emails. I maybe got lost in the mail. I would blame the U.S. Postal Service on that one. It's not my fault. I've not seen any fan mail or emails or letters or anything of that kind from you, Keith B. Thank you for the question. Next question is from Austin. Let's listen in, guys.
Hey, Jonah. I just want to say, first off, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I've been listening since the beginning. But one question I've always had for you, is cereal a soup? And why is it or why is it not? Thank you. This is a huge honor for me.
Now, the problem I have with this question, Austin, is it's not looking for advice in this question. You're actually just looking for either if cereal is a soup or if it's not. And that's not really advice. That's more of just an answer scientific. Ask the scientists that question, not us advice givers. And there's a whole community of us out there. And Austin, I would not let you get near them. You're looking for more a scientist to answer these kind of questions. But thank you for being a huge fan. Thank you so much for calling into the podcast. And let's get on to the next question from Maya. All right, Maya, take it away.
Hey, Jonah. So my dog has been giving me a lot of sass recently, and I'm just wondering if there's any way I can get her to behave better. Thank you.
Maya, fantastic question, but also a little rude of you. As you may or may not know, apparently you don't know, I did a pet-themed advice episode of the Jonah Keen Podcast. Episode 2, we had Joshua Rapley on there to give us tons of pet-themed advice. We talked about snakes, we talked about cats, and most importantly, we did talk about dogs and everything that has to do with dogs and dog-themed advice. So please refer your question to that episode of the podcast. But thank you for calling in, and let's get on with the next caller, who is Cameron. Cameron, take it away.
How do I fix the geopolitical situation in Israel?
Oh, I've never heard of that. Next caller is Joshua Rapley, who's been on the show before. Josh, take it away with this next question.
Hey Jonah, it's Josh Rapley. It's about 5 till. I was giving you a call to ask a question for your show, and actually, this is actually from my wife, Catherine. She wanted to know, Jonah, so how is dating life going now that you're in Oregon? It sure would be nice to have a double date sometime. Anyway, let me know so I can tell my wife when that's going to be on the show. Talk to you later. Again, it's Josh. It's about 5 till.
Now, Josh, you asked me a question about my dating life in Oregon now that I've moved here. And I'm about three-quarters way through this gin bottle I've been using. And slow, I would like to talk about why I'm drinking right now and I'm doing the podcast. Tonight, I was supposed to have a date at Dave & Buster's of all places. And I pretty much got stood up by this bitch. And I thought she was hot. I thought she was cute. She was a beautiful woman. And I waited at Dave & Buster's. I was waiting at the bar. And pretty much what happened was I got a little too slunk. And I ended up getting kicked out of Dave & Buster's permanently. And so now I am forced to do the podcast right now. I found my bottle of gin in the dumpster. Now I'm doing the podcast. So here's another sponsor. Special sponsor to Sydney. Thank you for standing me up at Dave & Buster's. Once again, thank you, Sydney, for standing me up on at Dave & Buster's. Thank you so much. The show really couldn't exist without you. Okay. Next question. From Sam across the pond in, looks like, Spain. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hi Jonah. I have a question. I need some advice. I was at the supermarket and I was looking at buying some fruit, and I was wondering what piece of fruit is best.
Sam, what a wonderful question. but unfortunately, I really couldn't hear most of it. Your accent is very thick, buddy, but I do think it's awesome that we have a very diverse group of audience members listening in to the Jonah Keen Podcast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for trying to send in a question, but maybe bring a translator along next time you want to send in a question. Okay, next caller. Dan asks a question. Let's hear it.
Jonah, hey, I just had a question for one of your next shows. I heard that you recently relocated to Oregon, so I just want to ask, how has that process been for you? Are you staying inspired? And just any good advice that you're taking in from being in Oregon now. Love all your work, love your advice, always inspired by you, Jonah. So just thank you for the work that you do.
Dan, thank you for the question. It is actually very sweet of you to ask about my move to Oregon. But first, I'd like to acknowledge something you said, which I will acknowledge. You say you asked if I'm taking in any advice from moving to Oregon, and I usually don't take advice. I give it to others, because I'm Mr. Advice. I give it to others. I don't take in any advice. And that's just something I like to keep consistent. And now you asked about my move to Oregon, and I will say it's been rough. I was living in Indianapolis, Indiana. Go Pacers. However, Oregon has been a little rough. It's hard to get the Pacers games on cable here. The mold in my apartment has been spreading from room to room, keeping me trapped in certain locations at times, and my landlord doesn't seem to care whatsoever. But thank you for the question. It was very thoughtful and very sweet. Thank you so much. The next question is from Carter Wallenius. He has been on the show before. He was on last episode. Carter, what question do you have for me? Jonah, Mr. Advice Keen.
Hey Jonah, it's Carter. Just wondering if you're doing okay. I mean, you kind of seemed a little emotional when we had our interview last episode. And I hope you're doing okay, bud.
Carter, I think you're a real idiot here. You're really you're making yourself look like a fool. Because one, you're not asking for advice when you clearly have a great opportunity to ask for advice on the show. You're really asking about myself, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. And so you really don't need to talk to me about how I'm doing. I'm an advice giver. I'm not an advice taker. And I think I've made it as clear as I want it to be. This next caller is, wow, Jenna Keen, my wife? This is one for the ages, folks. Guys, Jenna Keen. I haven't even listened to this yet. It just appeared on my inbox. Let's hear it and see what she has to say.
Jonah, this is me, Jenna. I'm trying to contact you to let you know that I need you to stop contacting me and the kids until this whole lawsuit is handled. There's so many others that I'm dealing with. You're not nice and I don't want to talk to you anymore. This is the last time. Thanks.
Jenna. I'm clawing through a lot right now, and as a father who just wants to see their children, as someone who I didn't give birth, but I did assist in the creation of the children, I would like to see them every once in a while, and my hands are up. My hands are up. I surrender. I would love to see my children, and I think this lawsuit has gone on for way too long, Jenna. And I think we should just go on to the next caller. Okay, next caller, Michael Hamilton. Oh, he's been on the show before. That's wonderful. Okay, Michael Hamilton.
Hi there, Jonah. This is Dr. Michael Hamilton. I don't know if you remember me, but I was on your podcast, let's see, give or take a few weeks ago now. And I watched the most recent episode you did with your father. And when I was watching Jonah, I was really appalled, I will say. It was my understanding that you were upset, angry. There was a lot of negative emotions going on, if I was right. And I'd feel bad if I didn't reach out and make sure you were doing okay, son. So if you need anything, here's my number. You know where to reach me. And once again, this is Michael Hamilton. So give me a call, Jonah. Let me know how you're doing, son. All right, I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Michael, thank you so much for reaching out. This is Jonah. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm good. I've been going through a lot right recently. I got kicked out of Dave & Buster's. My wife's been contacting me, telling me to cease and desist. I don't even know what that means. And I am no one. Michael. I really need your help. So please help me. Help me, Michael. This next question is from Grant Slim. Grant M. Hit it.
Hey, Jonah. I'm going to make this one quick for you. I'm a big fan. If God is so great, why am I crying every night?
Grant, that is such that is such a silly question. I
Guys, you should take over the family business instead of doing this stupid podcast.
You know who's there every day? Every day, even holidays. He was there on
There's some maybe fun outdoor activities for a divorced and broke man like myself.
No, it's not. I don't want to talk to you anymore. This is the last time.
As bloody well
Thanks.
you should be, because your life
You
sounds like
cry
hell.
like a baby when you're 24 years old.
And I can
I'm
tell you
gonna burn
something
your
right
kid.
now.
My spouse actually
They both hate you.
divorced me.
Yeah, because
a
you
couple months
had
ago.
some riveting,
And my
riveting
name
advice.
death. Well, I don't know. I guess. For this
This is the
episode,
worst
but
advice I've ever heard.